Okay people, I've sat here thinking about what I wanted to do this video on for a while now. Then it hit me. Hero shooters truly are taking over. You might be thinking, but Morty, Battlefield isn't a hero shooter. You don't have magical and crazy abilities like Valorant or Apex. What are you talking about? Well, let me explain a little bit more of my thinking here. With Battlefield 2042, DICE are incorporating the specialist concept into the base all-out war game which we'll have access to from launch, focusing specifically on conquest and breakthrough to begin with. Each of these specialists have a unique specialist ability alongside a trait or a passive effect they add to themselves and or their squad mates around them. Let's take Irish for instance. His ability is his fortification system, a makeshift wall of cover he can place down to protect himself and anyone close by, plus the APS-36 shoot-down sentinel, which acts as a trophy system to take out projectiles as well. Then we come on to his trait, Veteran, which provides armor and gets additional bonuses from downed enemies as well. Overall, I like them as abilities. Fortifications were a concept I thought worked okay in Battlefield 5 and needed some kind of love in the next game, but wasn't expecting the system we now see with portable cover, and trophy systems have been seen in many modern FPS titles at this stage too. The main reason I'm explaining this to you is because I see Battlefield 2042 now following a trend we've been seeing for a little while when it comes to FPS shooters. Specifically, creating their own spin on the hero shooter subgenre, which has definitely exploded in popularity over the past 5 years. I want to explore where this genre really kicked off and how I feel we've potentially reached a point at which developers feel the need to try and weave their FPS games into this space regarding mechanics and general feel. The origins of the hero shooter genre could arguably come from the likes of Battlefield 1942, creating the initial class system which saw different players able to outfit their chosen class with different weapons and equipment to aid their team in various different scenarios. But games like the original Star Wars Battlefront were able to take this initial framework and make it their own, using the lore and characters from within this to create a game which had a hero element while still remaining a tactical shooter. Team Fortress 2 was probably the first iconic hero shooter, in that it took on the class system but made each distinct, with each character having their own personality, and building on this with meet the team videos to build out character backstory. Does this sound familiar? Of course, in more recent times you can see the explosion of the hero shooter genre being given to Overwatch, and its lesser twin Battleborn, which really kicked off a real fan base for this style of game. Gearbox, the ill-fated makers of Battleborn, hit the nail on the head with their assessment of the hero shooter genre, essentially stating that it's an FPS first and foremost, but is similar to character-centric games and fighting games, which is where we get the hero element from. As I alluded to, Overwatch outperformed Battleborn massively, and so Gearbox ended up shutting down development on it pretty swiftly, but the hero shooter epidemic had begun. Now, you only need to look no further than the likes of Rainbow Six Siege, Apex Legends, Valorant and Rogue Company as some of the most recent success stories to emerge from this genre of game, and some of these games are also the most popular games on the planet now in their respective niches. So bringing this back to Battlefield 2042, to me it feels as though DICE are trying to take advantage of the new popularity we are seeing specifically in the hero shooter arena. And let's be honest, why shouldn't they? With the sheer amount of people playing this style of game at the moment, to me it makes sense for any developer to try and incorporate a similar framework into their own game, as long as it's done well and also doesn't alienate their existing player base who have played previous iterations of their games as well. Plus, DICE may think that for Battlefield to succeed in the current gaming landscape, they need to have a setup similar to other hero shooters, where players can pick the best specialist for their playstyle or for the team, a concept which many in a newer generation of gamers will be used to straight off the bat. As mentioned, Battlefield 1942 was one of the first games of the class system in the first place, and really the specialist system is an extension of that, whilst also trying to continue to deliver a narrative experience through the eyes of these heroes or specialists in the game. I'm interested to see how the specialist concept plays out when Battlefield 2042 releases, and whether or not it really is a shift away from the Battlefield class system we have become so used to over the past couple of decades. Let me know what you think. Do you think specialist is just a natural progression for the franchise? Or are you happy with the current class system that we all know and love? It's going to be interesting when we get our hands on the game as well, to see if the specialists are just carbon copies of how other characters are set up in other hero shooters. As always though guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts, drop them down in the comments below. Let's get out there, let's get after it, and I'll catch you on the next one.